Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the third video on marketing metrics. I hope you've enjoyed the previous two and you've learned something from it. Okay, like I said before, I normally just take a good example of a marketing metrics which I can find online, and then I start to discuss it, and while I discuss it, I pick out information. So I have picked up things before. This is why I wanted to show you the video, but as I'm going on, obviously I'm picking up more information. Nothing better than to discuss something, and while you're discussing, you're actually realizing something as you go along. So let's take this as an example. Okay, so it seems like some sort of a campaign on Facebook for a date ranging from July 7 until October 31st of 2017. Okay, so you've got on this side the cost and impressions, the amount of time people view it. Remember, CPM is not cost per million, it's cost per 1,000. The M is there for millennia, which is like millennia, it's for 1,000. So you've got your total amount spent is 4.9K. K is 1,000, comes from the word kilo. So wherever you see the word K here, remember it stands for 1,000. Okay. The only challenge here is I would figure that M stands for million, but it becomes confusing with the word CPM where M stands for 1,000. So when you do your, and this is something I'm picking up now, when you are doing graphs, try to ensure that you don't have abbreviations which start to confuse people. So for instance, again, CPC, cost per click, cost per 1,000, and that's click-through rate. So the one C is for cost and the other one is for click. So it becomes confusing for somebody who's not well versed. And when you sit in board meetings, normally your directors, your CEOs will know what's happening, but you will often find that people sit in a board meeting and they should be knowledgeable, but nobody trains them on reading graphs in a business environment. So they don't want to seem like they don't know what they're talking about, so they don't ask questions. One of the sayings that I always have, it's not an idiot to ask a question. An idiot is the person who has a question but doesn't ask. But in the boardroom, you will often see there's egos running. So what happens is people don't ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking a question and saying in the board meeting, just verify, does this mean that? Does this word means that? Nobody's going to ask questions. I can promise you often there will be somebody, at least one person in that meeting that has the same question but is too afraid to ask. Okay, we as marketers and we as managers and business people, we should be willing to admit when we don't know something, and people will respect you actually more. Stable people will respect you more when you are willing to admit that, listen, I just want to verify it. Because there's nothing worse than making a comment based on something where the stats are actually there, but you read the abbreviation wrong, or you did not understand what the abbreviation means. Okay, so the amount spent was 4.9K kilos, so it's 4,900. Now, if I look at this, it's UK. Okay, so that, although that's US. Okay, I'll get back to that just now. But my logic tells me this is a problem here. whenever you work on expenditures, you need to put a currency indicator in front. This, my logic tells me it would be GBP, Great Britain pounds, but it can possibly also be dollar. So watch out that your graphs, whenever you do graphs for people, that you don't have a scenario, especially when you have got a country breakdown like this, where any currency can be reflected on here, that you don't have that scenario. So please tell people. And remember, it doesn't help to just put dollar sign in there. We've got the Australian dollar as well. Okay, so you can have a scenario, so rather put USD or something. Yes, by default, people will think it is American dollar, but remember, it might not be the case. We that are not in the United States often are aware of the fact that people don't always refer to America when they refer to the dollar. So watch out that for those of you that might be tuning in from a different country. I know I've got some students in the class that are from different countries as well. Just remember, dollar does not always refer to US dollar. Okay, so the first problem that I've got here is you will see flat line there, flat line there, flat line there. Now, it might be the fact that the campaign was only launched. Logic depicts that it might only have been launched in August, because you will see all of them roughly on the 18th of August. Well, actually on the 18th of August, it starts to rise. Then you will see something here. Let's look at this first graph. Amount spent, cost per thousand, amount spent. So that is your average cost over 1,000 people, but the amount spent is the green line. So the amount spent went up, and then it went along like this, and then the amount spent even increased, and then went down slowly. But the cost per 1,000 customers went up, then it was there, and then it went up further, which is bad, because that means your average cost spent actually became more. So you most probably targeted, or your ad was wrong, or you targeted the wrong places in Facebook to place the ad, or something like that. But then it seems that the company realized it made a mistake, because just after this, shortly after this, you will see that the amount spent actually increased, but the cost per 1,000 decreased. It can also be that there might be, I don't know, if they were able to get some sort of bulk discount, I don't know. But it could possibly be that as well. But what is interesting here on September 29 is the amount spent was much lower, but the cost per 1,000 were considerably lower even than previously, the previous day. This might be due to the carryover effect that we did in one of our subjects. If you don't know what carryover effect is, Google it or search it somewhere. Just don't say anybody that I told to Google it, because that's a big no-no academic environment. But this might be due to people remembering the ad, and therefore they're still coming to the site, and they're viewing it and so forth. Okay, so we see this, just bothers me that it's a hell of a drop down here, it's a hell of a drop down here, it's a hell of a drop down here. It can be, if this data was pulled on the 31st of October, it was midday, that might be a reason. But then it wouldn't make sense that your CPM goes up. You will see here. Yeah, your clicks went down, the amount spent went down. So this is a little bit, I'm not sure. Remember, there can always be errors in data. So whenever you sit in a board meeting, it is advisable that you have an IT guy there that actually programmed the data, that you can ask him, why is there a drop here? When was the report generated? What time of the day? Anything like that. Because the more mistakes there is in the way that the data is compiled, the more difficult it is and challenging it is to do executive decisions on which way to steer your campaign or your company. Not only that, it becomes risky. You can actually make mistakes. When I worked at Shoprite head office in Cape Town a few years ago, we often had discussions on a weekly basis with the people who do the reporting. Peter Engelbrecht, who's now CEO, he headed the meeting. And we sat there our meetings were started at Tuesdays, was it Tuesday, 6 o'clock in the evening. We even went on till 2 o'clock the one Wednesday morning. But weekly we had a meeting like that to ensure that our graphs and our statistics, what we want to see is there. And remember, you can always ask IT, I want to see this extra. I want to see that extra. Because the more graphs you have, the more questions you have. And you must be well versed in statistics and graphs to know what else can help you make better managerial decisions. So that's vital. You must know a little bit about IT to know that where can mistakes creep in. Okay. Now the next one, the amount of clicks is 46,000 KS1000. Click-through rate is 3.3%. So it means that for this, my logic tells me that is not for the specific time, but that would most probably be for this time frame. It tells me that the click-through rate is not good. Well, it's not bad, but ideally you don't only want to have 3.3% of people clicking on your ad. Now, in theory of advertising, you will have that, say, if this is not Facebook, but if it was YouTube, was the ad in the beginning of the YouTube? Was it in the middle, or was it at the end of the YouTube video? Normally at the end of a YouTube video, you got more people clicking through. But if the video was not interesting, then a lot of people just drop off the video before even viewing your ad. Cost per click is 0.1. Now, once again, is that 0.1 of what? Is it dollar? Is it British pound? Pound sterling? Is it what is cost? 0.1. Yeah, is it because the problem is if you do something like this, it can indicate that it's 0.1 out of 10, but then it should have had an indicator. But this can actually mean that it's out of 1 either. So it's a little bit difficult to have something like this and you don't really know what is my baseline, which I have to compare it with something. So 0.1 out of 1, is it a percentage? Is it out of 100? We need to find that out. So this is actually information that doesn't really help. Then the amount of clicks, you will see very little, and then a hell of a drop. And then it stabilized, and then it was a hell of a drop. Now, interestingly enough, the inverse also happened here. It went up, the cost per click went up, but the amount of clicks there was down, so that makes sense. When it increases slightly, it decreases the cost per click. So there, the advertising might have been more effective. Here it was less effective. And then all of a sudden, it seems like the company figured out how to do, where to advertise on Facebook. Because here, all of a sudden, it fell like bottom out almost. And inversely, the amount of clicks rose steeply. So we have to find out what we did here, as well as previously, to ensure that we educate ourselves not to make the mistake we did before. Was it the different Facebook pages? Did we change that? Did we change our ad? Remember, you can also change your ad, and your ad might be more noticeable. That might also be the indicator, the thing that you see. Okay, I see here now CPC is on this side, but once again, you will see that CPC, that's the scan on the right-hand side, which refers to this. but is it pounds? Is it what is my logic tells me it should be pounds because it seems like most of the information here is UK related. But yeah, we want to know what that relates to. Then actions, action rate and cost per action. Now, like I said, this is just information that I randomly found, and I did not really analyze this, but now as we're going into depth into it, I'm trying to analyze it while on the run. Actions was 50,400. Action rate was 3.7. Cost per action. It's again, cost per action, cost per click. I'm not sure what this is trying to convey. I'm trying to think what this can potentially relate to. It's a little bit challenging to see. It might be sales action, but then it would actually be advisable to actually put that into sales or something like that. So this is typically where you would like to have the IT people on board to tell them, please tell me what is action? What does that mean? Does it mean that people are responding to come to our homepage? Does it mean that they are going to our Facebook page? Although that means the clicks, it depends on where the click goes. Does it go to your Facebook page or does it go to your website? So you see, there's too many questions that I can ask you to actually give you good insight into this. But although the fact that I ask the questions gives you insight per se as well. Then now they're talking about top campaigns, return on investment, cost, and cost per action. Once again, that's this cost per action. I'm trying to think if it relates to a return on investment. I'm not sure. It might relate to that, but then why would you have return on investment? Nonetheless, page likes, unfortunately, you can't really see it very well here. 1,000, you see, that's a return on ad spend. Unfortunately, it's abbreviated. I don't know what that means. So this is most probably, once again, UK. So I would think that this is, you get 1,800, roughly 1,900 UK pounds for every one sterling pound spent, which is a hell of a return on investment. But again, amount 409. Okay, then post engagement, prospecting, lead generation. Now again, here you see US, UK, 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 UK. If I look at this thing, Britain is there, it's very small conversions. I would think that this might be a UK company that's expanding to the US because lead generation is one of your first steps in your sales process. So logic tells me if this was newer in the US, then they opened up the country only recently for whatever they trying to advertise or sell. Then that might be the reason why there's only US information for leads generation, but not prospecting, post engagement, page likes, retargeting. I'm guessing what this means. Every person uses different words. There is a rule of thumb on advertising terminology, but every person can use different words. Retargeting, I might think it might be something like resales. So the retargeting, or they might alter the product to sort of get a gap in the market which they're currently not using. But it seems to be quite effective. That's 2,400 return on ad spend with amount. It seems like they're retargeting a lot, which is typically something you would get where they're trying to open a new market. So it seems in line with what I'm guessing that it's a UK company who's now retargeting or repositioning or whatever it for the international market or something like that. It's interesting. They've got South America and India as well. Then page likes. So the advertising campaign, yeah, amount spent is not a lot, but my logic tells me why not increase that? Yeah, although now I'm seeing the cost per action seems to be quite high. Okay, so that might be the reason for the cost per action here. Okay, then so this is more like a percentage indicator. It's not percentage, but it's more like a percentage indicator. So here you compare apples with apples. And if I look at this, it means that it seems like post-engagement, whatever that might be something like customer care, after-sales care, repeat sales, might be something like that. It seems to be quite effective. Cost per action is only, well, I don't know what this is, but it's a small amount compared to the rest. Prospecting is also not a lot, but my lead generation, this bothers me a lot. Why is this so high? The only logic thing which I might be thinking of is because the rest is in the UK, age groups 18 to 55, but this is in the US 18 to 55. So unless, unfortunately, this graph doesn't go down further, so I can't see more information. But these are different campaigns, and it seems like this campaign wasn't very effective compared to the rest. But the post engagement was quite effective, so you need to find out what to do here and try and spend more on that. That seems to be a logical thing to do. So yes, even though return on ad spend is a lot here, if you compare apples with apples here, just the cost per action, it seems like that is the better call on it. But as I said, I don't know this company. I would have liked to verify information on the graphs by asking the IT guys when I sit in the board meeting to get more information. But even information like this, you can see where normally the darker colors are where it's more active or more sales. So it seems like Alaska and America seems to be, even Hawaii seems to have good sales. South America, quite areas where they can still commit. In Africa, they almost got nothing. Even South Africa, very few sales. India is a lot. Now this begs the question, why is India such a lot, but Russia not, or China? Obviously, there's way more people in China, we know, and the income in China is much higher. And also in the rest of Europe, there's not a lot of sales. Canada has got good sales, not like where you want it, but it's not bad. But this can also give you an indication of where to target your positioning. Although, once again, with any boardroom meeting, you would like to know where the competitors are targeting, what other products are there, which might be substitute products, to ensure that you're doing it right. But this might be also language related. India, I'm not sure how many people understand English there. I know they've got a lot of different languages, official languages like Hindi and so forth, a lot of different languages. South America is more normally Portuguese or Spanish. America's English. But yeah, my question is, it might be that the campaigns, my question which I would like to ask this company is, are your ad campaigns only in English? Because that might give an indication of what's happening here. But my question is now, based on that, is why is Australia so low? And it seems like New Zealand as well here, which is cut off the page. Why is that also so slow. My question is also, why are some of the biggest economies excluded, like Japan? And Europe still bothers me. So, like I said, every graph, every marketing metrics has got something unique to it, something that you can learn from it, something that gives you more insight if you go into industry and you start compiling marketing metrics. So I often go online and I go and search graphs like this, and I discuss it with my class. What I see and what I interpret, like I said, I've got no background in this company. I don't know what it's about. But nonetheless, it gives you good insight and it helps you to run your own campaigns and do your own operational and strategic adaptations of your campaigns and your managerial decisions. So I hope it helps.